How's up, y'all? I was popping this G about to react to this vid. This is when did you realize your friend wasn't actually a friend? This is very common. You're gonna come across so many fake friends in your life. It's a thing. Everybody deals with it unless you just don't have any friends, which I advise you to get out and make some friends. But if you are being active in these streets and being social, you're going to inevitably come across somebody who gonna pretend to be your friend. They gonna act like they your friend, be around you, like they cool with you, but on the low, they on some snake shit. It is what it is. Anyway, let's see what they have to say, though. Let's watch.
Did you ever have a time where you realized a good friend wasn't actually your friend?
Oh man, when I saw this, I knew that I had to record a video about it. So my experience happened shortly after grad school. When we were done, a couple of friends and I went down to Florida to celebrate grad school graduation, and the week before we left, I got very sick. I got some antibiotics and steroids from my doctor, but when we got down there, I just felt so horrible. And so I wouldn't be out at the beach all day. Some evenings I did not go to dinner. And I didn't make a big deal about it. I just asked that they bring me dinner home with them. And I rested because I really felt horrible. When we had about 3 days left on our trip, I got word that my otherwise healthy grandmother had actually fallen in the middle of the night and broken her hip. Obviously, being sick and finding this out, I was very upset, and I chose to forego some excursion that we had planned that day. Again, didn't ask any sort of accommodation for my friends, just simply said that I was too upset I wasn't going to go. Turns out my grandma ended up getting an infection and turned horribly, for the worse within a day. I was very upset when I realized that it was very likely that my grandma was going to pass, and I went down to the pool where my friends were, and I asked if they could help me call a couple of the airlines and see if I could move my flight so that I could be there, so that my grandma wouldn't pass without me saying goodbye. They did that. They went ahead and they helped me call some airlines, and the way that it happened, there was nothing that I could do unless I was going to spend like $3,000. There was no way for me to get home, and after just graduating college, I did not have $3,000. Obviously, I was very upset. I was getting word that my grandma's condition was deteriorating rapidly, and by the time our flight had landed in Ohio, where I live, she had passed. I actually got the call that she passed when we were standing up to leave to unboard the flight. We had a 45-minute drive ahead of us, and a friend drove, and I asked that she just take me straight to the hospital so that I could give my grandmother a kiss, because they were keeping her there waiting for me. My grandmother helped to raise me, and we were extremely close. This is going to cut me off, so I'm going to try and hurry. Long story short, I didn't hear from my friends again. The funeral went and happened, didn't hear from them. I reached out about a month later, and they told me that I was so selfish and I made the trip all about myself and my sickness and my grandmother's death, and that they didn't want to be friends with someone that selfish. Really.
Did you ever have a time where you realized a good friend wasn't actually your friend?
She made that story really long, though.
Yes. My husband and I had a couple that we got really close to at our church. Over time, we learned that they were struggling with infertility, and we really tried to be there and support them through that. A year into our friendship, I found out I was pregnant with my son, and when I went to a routine ultrasound, I later found out that my son was going to be born with a disability. It was a rare disability, so the doctors didn't have a lot of information. We were told things like my son may now crawl, he may now walk. It was a very stressful situation. And being a first-time mom, I also had severe postpartum depression. One night my husband had dinner with the husband of this couple, and he said that he couldn't stand being around me anymore, that all I did was complain about my child and our situation, where I should just be grateful to have a child. We later found out that they were having these conversations with people behind our back as well, so we're no longer friends.
Did you ever have a time where you realized a good friend wasn't actually your friend?
All right, so I can't resist when it comes to coming across videos like this. So I've always kept my circle really small, and I had one best friend, and she was my best friend for 15 years. I liked her so much I hooked her up with my brother. But then she dated my other brother. Now, I let that go, and then my abusive ex-boyfriend cheated on me with her. I'm like, I'm not really happy about that. And then she started dating my dad.
Bitch.
And I was definitely not happy about that. And I moved away and tried to stay as far away from them as possible. They would put on a good face for me, but I wasn't falling for it. But the kicker was when I had my stroke. I was literally on my deathbed with a 1% chance of survival. That's when she tried to take my children. Her and my dad locked my oldest in a room and interrogated her for hours. They told my kids I died. Their harassment got so bad when I was in a coma that a safe house had to be set up for my family. And then the audacity when it turned out I was going to survive. I stood up and cut my dad out of my life and my children's life. And she had the nerve to say I was unreasonable. How dare I get mad at my father? How dare I get mad at her? How dare I get mad at them for them trying to take everything from me? And how dare I refuse to find forgiveness in my heart? The relief I have for cutting them out of my life is awesome, and I am much happier now.
Did you ever have a time where you realized a good friend wasn't actually your friend?
So I have to somehow keep this in the 60 seconds in order for the stitch sound to be on it, but here we go. So, long story short, so 3 of my closest friends at the end of high school were guys, and I would drive them to lunch every day because I was the only one who could drive.
Sorry, I was talking over her. Okay, let's start over.
Sound to be very short. So 3 of my closest friends at the end of high school were guys, and I would drive them to lunch every day because I was the only one who could drive. Towards the end of my senior year, I got in the car, ready to drive them to lunch, and instead, they got in the car and yelled at me a lot. Apparently, they had misinterpreted something I said. Once I cleared up what I actually said, they did not let up. They called me some things I can't repeat, some things like they called me a liar. One of them said I was lucky that I was a woman or he would have beaten me. And I was in such shock and sobbing, and I still drove them to lunch that day.
Yeah, these people definitely had terrible friends based on what they're saying. I definitely got some impressions of these people. But I'll keep my comments to myself because I don't know these niggas and the stories that they're telling. I don't know all the details, so I'll leave it at that. I definitely have had, a few friends, though, in my life that I had to cut off because they was on some bullshit. Nothing too extreme, though. I told y'all not too long ago about this male friend that I had who was trying to basically convince our other friends and other people around us that I was trying to fuck him. I thought that was really weird. I'm like, nigga, I don't want you at all. So that was strange. And he was just problematic. It was other things that occurred that led to me cutting him off. And then I had a friend that I was cool with for like maybe almost 2 years, and she just cut me off out the blue, like out of nowhere. Just stop being friends with me. And I know some people will be like, oh, out of nowhere, this person did this. Literally, though, out of nowhere, she just stopped being friends with me. Like, she started inviting my other friends to shit and, like, not inviting me and just stopped being friends with me. Didn't tell me why. We didn't have a conversation about it. Nothing. And my other friends were curious, too. Like, what happened? Like, why are y'all not cool no more? And she couldn't give them a direct answer. It was so weird. But she stopped being friends with them eventually too. Like, she just was an odd character. That happened not so long ago, actually, too. But yeah, friends come and go. It is what it is. You know, if people are not treating you well, you gotta cut them off. That's life. Y'all let me know what y'all thought, though. Let me know what other videos you want to watch, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.